Hello, I am Officer Chris Mason, and I am here with two Middlebury Union High School students, Joe and Hannah.
Hi.
Welcome. And we are going to be talking a little bit about sexting. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the legal aspect of sexting, and you guys are going to be talking about some other aspects of sexting. So sexting is illegal. If you're under 18 years old, it is illegal to send an explicit image of yourself to somebody else. It's also illegal to receive an image. I don't know if you guys, did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if you get an image and you don't do one of two things, you don't immediately delete it or report the incident. So if you don't do either of those two things and you keep that image on your device, then you have broken the same law as the person who sent the image. So even if it wasn't something you asked for, it wasn't something that you wanted, maybe it's even something that you're grossed out by, if you don't do one of those two things, then you could face legal consequences. So that's like basic sexting. There are a lot of other laws that surround sexting that can potentially make sexting more complicated or even more severe. So if the people doing the sexting are especially young, if they're under 16 years old and the images are really graphic, that goes into child pornography territory. And the penalties for that can be really, really severe. Also, if there's any distribution, so if those images are shared, if you receive an image and you show somebody else, or you send it to somebody else, or you post the image on a site, then that's more serious. Can be pretty damaging.
Absolutely.
And if there's any coercion involved, so if there's any force, and again, kind of related to the coercion piece, if the images are taken without the person's knowledge, which would obviously mean they were taken without the person's consent, because how can you consent if you don't know? So those are factors that might impact the severity of sexting, legally speaking. Right.
Yeah.
And definitely kind of going off of that, there's the whole social aspect of it, because once it's taken, anything can happen with it. You know, it can really get out there and spread like wildfire, essentially.
It can. It can essentially go viral in
Right.
your community, and all the people that you go to school with, even family members, can land up viewing those images.
Yeah, and like you hear all these stories kind of in the media about how someone didn't intend for it to be spread around, or it just kind of happened, and how it just kind of impacted their lives in just kind of a very negative way.
Absolutely. Yeah, it can be really devastating. Can lead to some pretty severe depression, isolation. Yeah, a lot of horrific social consequences. For sure. Yeah, I think one of the issues is that a lot of times these images are exchanged within a relationship. So boyfriend or girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend, whatever it might be. But then that relationship goes sour. So there's trust, there's intimacy there. You think that it's a very private thing, but then that trust is betrayed. Or if the relationship goes bad, that person may dislike you pretty intently. Right, and you've given them all this material that they can use against you.
Definitely, So always have to think about before sending an image like that.
Right, like what's the worst case scenario? Right. Yeah. What would grandma think?
Grandma. Oh, God.
That's right. Of course, those images can stick around. So there's the immediate impact if they get out there, if people see them that you don't intend to see them. There's no getting them back. So once they're loose, once they're out there in circulation, they're out there forever.
And that can affect like later in life, like if you're applying for like a job or something. Like you hear even all of these celebrities that have these photos, how it kind of affects their lives, even though this was years ago. That can affect how you're seen in the future, and how that can affect the opportunities that you get.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's sad, really, that something that you can do maybe fairly impulsively as a young person because these are issues that are affecting middle schoolers, not just high schoolers, that it can have such long-term impact. That wasn't the way when I was. I mean, there were stupid things that I did in school, but they didn't have that degree of permanence. They weren't able to haunt me in the same way that some of these things are. Yeah, I think it's a really good point that it can really impact your opportunities down the line. And what I've heard is that there are colleges, more and more colleges, and more employers, big employers, that are hiring people to search that stuff, to investigate your digital identity, your electronic identity. Yeah, so their whole job is picking over your Facebook page.
Sifting through it all.
That's right. Delving into the nitty-gritty. Yep. So I think another interesting piece of it is how it impacts sexual development as well, because as you're forming relationships, particularly as a young person, as you're investigating and exploring that, that should really be an incredibly beautiful, intimate experience. And when it's explored through sexting, when it's done in that way, that has a tendency to really objectify the experience. Yeah. So a lot of that closeness is sucked out of it, and it becomes more like pornography. Basically, you're engaging in pornography with your partner. So I think there's a cheapening of it.
Yeah.
Through that objectification.
And just like as a culture, objectification is just so present in all of the media, and so I think it just kind of keeps that going rather than stopping it. Absolutely,
it's phenomenally prevalent. In so many movies, in advertisements. I mean, it's everywhere, that objectification. So drawing it into your relationships, which should really be a refuge from that, is very sad. Any other thoughts?
I don't know. I just really think people should think about how it's such an intimate moment between two people, and it should essentially stay that way.
Right.
Because
and we've been focusing upon those situations where it is between two people who are in a relationship. For some people, that they sext with individuals who they don't even know, individuals who they meet online, and that's incredibly risky. There's so many cases that I've investigated that have involved really creepy individuals. So making yourself vulnerable to those people online, I mean that's just incredibly bad idea.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being willing to sit in front of a camera and talk about these issues. I mean, these are tough issues. I think the more we talk about it, the more we discuss it, the more healthy we can be as a culture kind of moving forward.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.